I've had a study going on and off about Albert Pike for maybe about 5 years. Like when I first met my mother, I was 7 years into Moorish science. So when I went through all the records, man, it was perfect because she had everything recorded. And I tied myself all the way back to Hallstatt and Stenick, Austria, going to Cornwall. Then from Cornwall, a boat was taken to Ellis Island near New York, the boat Stella. But as I'm looking through the records, I see Benjamin Pike. So I started asking my mom, what's the Pikes with Benjamin Pike? She said that's your great grandfather whose daddy was brother with Albert Pike. He was a lumberjack and a Scottish Rite. Then she read a poem to me of a preacher who only walked barefooted because North America land was sacred. Morals and dogma. Whatever Hiram really was, he is the type, perhaps an imaginary type to us, of humanity in its highest phase. He's speaking about the Moors. But to us, it's an imaginary type because we never reach it, man. We're always in lower self. An exemplar of what man may and should become in the courses of ages because he knew he was going to awaken and run this race. In his progress towards the realization of his destiny, you have a destiny, Moors. An individual gifted with a glorious intellect, a noble soul. You have a noble soul, Moor. And this is Albert Pike. A fine organization and a perfectly balanced moral being, an earnest of what humanity may be. That's why Noble Drew Ali says uplift fallen humanity. And what we believe it will be hereafter, be in God's good time a possibility of the race made real. And that's true in God's good time because he's the best of planners and he guides, not us. Human race, and those who don't classify themselves as such, they're going to be classed as undesirables. But he said inferior races. So these people that just read the inferior race and they think in color, that's why they tear the stuff down, man. But I feel like the council in that town, they incited it too, because they made a forum and spoke publicly about taking it down. I'm going to look further into the LaCrouche because since the 90s, they try to take it down. He was speaking of humankind and humanity unfolding into perfection and being better. We'll get into Noble Drew Ali going to speak to the KKK, but I want to speak this first. No one's going to be able to explain a bloodline except for the bloodline, just like with Noble Drew Ali when he divinely prepared the Holy Quran, coming from his ancestors and his bloodline of the old-time religion. So I'm going to explain this, man, in regards to Albert Pike, where the armies of the despot cease to slay and ravage, the armies of freedom take their place, and the black and white commingled slaughter and burn and ravish. Each age reenacts the crime as well as the follies of its predecessors, and still war licenses outrage and turns fruitful lands into deserts, and God is thanked in the churches for bloody butcheries. And the remorseless devastators, even when swollen by plunder, are crowned with laurels and receive ovations. That's Albert Pike, man. Black and white commingled, slaughter and will burn and ravish. Each age reenacts the same shit because they not awakening, basically. So I seen this Fleming that I think I seen in the Shriner's booklet too. When I study, coincidences happen a lot. Scottish Rite KKK project, right? And this was setting up, they said that Albert Pike was mentioned being in the Klan in these books. But right here, here's what caught my eye. It says the research included the writings of Captain John Lester, one of the founders of the Klan. And then it says Dr. Walter L. Fleming, who republished Lester's booklets in 1905. Well, that Walter Fleming caught my eye and a frayed wire connected like Noble Drew Ali said. Now watch this. This is the Shriner, the secret ritual. Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. 1914, Noble Drew Ali's on the scene. The ancient Arabic order of nobles of the Mystic Shrine was instituted by Muhammadan Caliph Ali. His name be praised. The secret works were brought by Florence and put into the hands of Walter M. Fleming. Well, the middle initial is different, but I know if 2 or more Europeans go off to do something, they going to tear it up, man. And that's what happened right here. I think the only one that was really in line was Albert Pike, from his words. But when Noble Drew Ali went there to speak to who he thought he was speaking to, They was already infiltrated and dumbed down. They was calling themselves a color, so it was all going wrong. But Noble Drew Ali said, it might not look like I'm going to pass, but I am going to pass. The Scottish Rites and Templars are subordinate to the Shriners in regards to Ali instituting the shrine. That explains why Noble Drew Ali, the same bloodline, had to come again and take the veil off, because within this same booklet that says it was instituted by Ali, it says that you're supposed to give an oath. And Noble Drew Ali, that's why he put in the Holy Quran, don't give an oath because it spreads shame across your face. He was coming back and correcting all of this. But still, when Noble Drew Ali was like 5, Albert Pike was still alive, man, and he assisted with Cherokee in getting land back. And that's the same thing that Eliza Turner did, was sue the U.S. to get her land back. So Albert Pike was assisting with Cherokee, and Noble Drew Ali was like 5 years old before he passed, man. So think about that too. And anyone who can get a hold of the Cloran, send it to me. If you can send me the Cloran, man, I'll send you both of my books for free. The Moore's Herbs book and the Little GreenStar for free. I need the Cloran, whichever kind of editions you can find, because I want to go over them as well. When Ali went to see the KKK, he was expecting to meet at least one honorable European, and they must have all been dumbed down like now, running around with the hose on the back of their head and they can't see while they're on the horse, you know what I'm saying? That ain't what Noble Drew Ali was going to speak to, man. Instituted by Ali. And again, they wear the Moorish garbs. The real ones, like Grand Sheik told me, you know, Albert Pike used to run around in the garbs and scare Moors and stuff and chase Moors around, right? But think about this situation. Say I'm out one day and I see Rami Salam El, and I start chasing him down the street, man, and someone videotapes it. And 100 years from now, they're like, yeah, man, Latif used to chase Moors around with the fez on. He speaks a lot about the human race and a lot about uplifting. Humanity being uplifted and being perfected, man. He's not speaking about inferior races thinking of a color term. He's thinking about those that are weak-minded and don't study. They're undesirables. Albert Pike was saying that the blind force of the people, it must be harnessed and it must be guided. The blind force of the people is a force that must be economized and also managed as the blind force of steam. Lifting the ponderous iron arms and turning the large wheels is made to bore and rifle the cannon and to weave the most delicate lace. It must be regulated by intellect. Intellect is to the people and the people's force what the slender needle of the compass is to the ship, its soul, always counseling the huge mass of wood and iron and always pointing to the north, to attack the citadels built up on all sides against the human race by superstitions, despotism, and prejudice. And that same blind force is what pulled down that statue and burned it. Blind force. Attacking with despotism and prejudice. Islam indeed. And when they talk about someone to the lowest and a family member comes back and defend them, then they can rest. There is represented a certain point within a circle. The point representing an individual brother, the circle, the boundary line of his conduct, beyond which he is never to suffer his prejudices or passions to betray him. And Noble Drew Ali said the same thing in regards to drawing the circle around your passions. Constantly the people put forth immense strength, only to end in immense weakness. The force of the people is exhausted in definitely prolonging things long since dead, in governing mankind by embalming old dead tyrannies of faith, restoring dilapidated dogmas, regilding faded warm Eden shrines, whitening the rouging ancient and barren superstitions, saving society by multiplying parasites, perpetuating superannuated institutions, enforcing the worship of symbols as the actual means of salvation, and tying the dead corpse of the past mouth to mouth with the living present. The very word spirit means breath, from the Latin verb spiro, breath. To present a visible symbol to the eye of another is not necessarily to inform him of the meaning which that symbol has to you. Hence, the philosopher soon superadded to the symbols explanations addressed to the ear, susceptible for more precision, but less effective and impressive than the painted or sculptured forms which he endeavored to explain. Out of these explanations grew by degrees a variety of narrations, whose true object and meaning were gradually forgotten or lost in contradiction, congruity. To study and seek to interpret correctly the symbols of the universe is the work of the sage and philosopher. In reading this, immediately I get an image that flashes in my mind sitting with my mother. And, I would talk to her about everything. And she looked right at me. She was like, "You're a philosopher." Light will come out of darkness north, south, east, and west. And your 490s make a perfect circle, 360, the perfected man. But you also have a 7 facing up and a 7 facing down, as above, so below. Europeans, you are not white. Asiatics, you are not black. Also, this is signifying the salt that the Europeans was mining for the Moors when they seen the salt inside of the caves in the darkness. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace, but there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations in all lands. Cornish, Celtic, Kentish, Irish, any brother that wants to come and get the gnosis. We have extensive studies. Went through every thought, man. Every thought as far as like nation of gods and earth. I breezed through their adepts. They gave me Latif, God, Allah. I went through all their stuff and it was so easy because all of it was from Noble Drew Ali. Civics, we can really get deep into civics here too. I put up the image of the Moslem that was in India, Calcutta, who made a temple inside of a tree. The temple's within, man. But again, Noble Drew Ali said that the Moorish science was going to disappear from the face of the earth. So if there's one more science temple of America, whether it's in Khalifa or Canaan land, you better go join, man, and get the gnosis because it'll be gone before you know it. And there'll only be one temple in the whole world. You know what I'm saying?